Hi, this is a submission for Module 2 talking about the OERs in the Google Classroom. And I just want to talk about some different things that I'll be using OERs for and potentially hoping to input that into my classes coming up this semester. One of the big connections that I make with Google Classroom is the ability to differentiate my classes very, very easily, and especially being able to assign different assignments to different kids without specifically telling them that, I think is a huge advantage. So, for example, in my mock class that I'll probably be using for my physics class that's coming up this semester, one thing that I want to work on is developing these pre-assessments. So an easy way that I can gather data and potentially give feedback to kids. So what I have here is a Google form where students will be working through different questions about trigonometry. And I made all these, and every answer has to do with different misconceptions that I've seen over the years. So I've divided it into 3 sections. The first one is just basically using trig functions. So there's 3 questions talking about that. The second section is a smaller one, Pythagorean's theorem for right triangles. And the last one is one that students definitely struggle with, is being able to use inverse trig functions to find those angles. So I could have those kids do it at home, potentially as a homework assignment. I could have them doing it in class. But I think the real power of using Google Classroom to do that is I can gather that information really quickly, divide that up into standards, and in class or out of class, I can point them over to CK12 so they can work on the things that they need to work on specifically. So I don't have to spend a day in class going over all the trig functions, Pythagorean's theorem, because some kids might need more help. Some kids already remember that stuff. Some kids are going to be bored out of their minds. So using this digitally is a much better way for the kids to know where they're at and where they need to go to understand the content. So based on those 3, I have 3 sections. One is the sine, cosine, tangent, which talks about section number 1 if the kids struggled, so they can go through kind of this walkthrough. There's the video. This was all put up by CK12. It was really easy just to kind of plug it into a Google Classroom announcement. If kids struggled with Pythagorean's theorem, there's another one that they can go through. Usually they just need a little reminder on what that is, so a quick little video. And then if they struggle with the inverse functions, there's also a really nice kind of walkthrough and video for those. And there's always those kids that already know this stuff and they have it down very, very well. So that extension piece is a simulation from CK12, which kind of walks them through the next thing that we're going to learn about in class, which is being able to add and subtract vectors when we talk about forces, when we talk about acceleration and things like that, so they can get a head start. And not explicitly telling them how this works, but having them kind of go through using a coordinate system, what's positive, what's negative, and how do we get that information. So basically the big standard that we're talking about here is eventually breaking down vectors. So this isn't specifically for physics, but it's definitely a prerequisite that they're going to need to know in order to be successful. And eventually I'll probably do another Google form where we take another quick assessment. We can kind of see how much they learned and where we need to go from there. And these resources definitely change the way that I use Google Classroom. So instead of searching YouTube all the time or making my own video or something like that, these interactive little documents are really, really nice to have just quickly on the go. I won't use them for everything, but this is really nice if I need just quick little activities for the kids to use based on what their skill level is. So I definitely see myself using this up in the coming semester, and trying to apply it to maybe some more difficult concepts. And I'll have to take a little bit of time to kind of search through CK12 and other resources to see if there's some of the more advanced ideas, so some of the more content-based. But this is a really cool use for using pre-assessments and having the kids kind of learn as they go and individualizing their learning to help them out as best I can.